Hey homies, what's up? I'm here. How are you guys doing? Welcome to a very special live episode of Late Night Inks, where we're just going to be chilling out, hanging out. I got a video. We're going to be playing a little time lapse of me inking a Hammerella page. And let's take a look at the chat and see who's here. But you know what? Before we do that, let's start the show proper. Let's get the song going. Let's do the intro. I'll see you back here in 30 seconds.
If I said a chance, we'll take it. Read us any rules, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. Nothing's gonna hold us back now. Straight ahead and on the track now. Gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way.
All right, the show has officially begun. My vocals and my voice and my face should be coming through nice and clear. You guys let me know if they are not. All right, looks like we had some people show up that couldn't stick around. We had our good friend Trusty Sidekick. He's going to have to check us out later. Same with William C., who's usually up with the late night crowd. Probably working too hard. That's good to hear. We got Ty Ranger. Hey Ty, how you doing, buddy? We got our good friends. He's one person, but he comes from a good family. TJ Good Thunder, what is up, buddy? Saying hi to Ty. And they thought I was late. No, guys, the show was scheduled for 10:05. I was right on time. So let's see. Black Rose Comics. Hey, what's up, dude? Good to see you here. Hail, Black Rose. We got James, also known as Shogun Ronin Artist, who is somebody we're going to be having on the show. I've known James for, gosh, got to be a decade or so. We go all the way back to the old Deviant Art days. And I'm pretty sure he came up and met me at a California convention years ago when I worked for Valiant and didn't say who he was, but I recognized him. But that might not be him. He'll let us know in the chat. We got Hex Allen. What is up, Hex Allen? Hail to the chat. Hail, Hex Allen. We got the other Ryan that likes to hang around the live streams. Ryan Cardinal. What is up, brother? Good to see you. We got my good buddy, Rex Doom. Rex is a participant in the Death Curse 24-hour draw streams, and he also joins in on the Geronimo draw streams. And boy, we got everybody hanging out. What is up, guys? Yeah, I just wanted to do something mellow tonight. I didn't have an ink along ready, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing with the channel, and I wanted to get some feedback from those of you that participate in the ink-alongs as well. Like how many we should do a month, how many guests we should have, because it's a once-a-week show for now at least. It could always grow into more, but that's slightly manageable for me. But I don't always want to bring on a guest. Maybe once a month bring on a guest. These are my thoughts. Like once a month bring on a guest. 2 weeks out of the month we do ink-alongs of usually those I think those should be like well-known characters that we want to have fun exploring or learning inking techniques over, things like that. And then maybe once a month we'll do like a chill stream like this, and hang out, talk about inking, go over questions, anything like that. And hey, we got my good friend Jay Krager of the Hammer comic stopping by to say hi. I'm not sure if he's still around, but he's a good friend, and he has really helped me out. We had a brief conversation yesterday, but he's one of those guys that he's so experienced and he's so knowledgeable that, a short conversation with him can be so informative. And he is not only an artist and a creator of comics, but he's a sculptor and just a master sculptor in his own right, and was giving me some tips and stuff on some of the sculptures I'm doing. And before we get the video started, I am going to share something that I am working on. This is just a prototype. But let's take a look. This is a Jimmy action figure from Gods and Gears. You guys know we have had some. I'll show you guys these ones in a second. You guys have seen these ones. We had some done by AC of AC Design, AC Toy Design, a good buddy. But he's really busy, and this is something I've always wanted to do anyways. I do a little bit of sculpting. I'm working on a Grips and a Divinity figure right now. We'll whip those out next week, show you guys. But I wanted to get into 3D sculpting and 3D printing of our own action figures. Now, this might actually be the base for a statue that I want to do. But we are going to be doing Star Wars style 3 3/4 figures. So I do have another cool Hammerella one I'd like to share, but I got some people that said they want to show up for the stream. So I'm going to wait a few minutes. We'll get the video started, and we'll do some hanging out and some chit chatting in the meantime. So there is that. And yeah, I got some great tips from Jason on what to do there or how I should approach it. And, you know, he looked at my artwork and he was like, okay, this is how you draw. And just he only saw a couple of the things I'd sculpted, but he's got such a keen eye. He knew immediately what I wasn't doing right in my sculptures that I do right in my drawings. And that's something that we always focus on, and that's form. We always focus on form first. So that was something I was getting right to the details. I was skipping a lot of the stuff that I do and the steps that I take in my drawing. And already, after I talked to him yesterday afternoon, some of the sculpting I did last night, leaps and bounds better. So we're going to be exploring this quite a bit and really having some fun with it, getting some feedback from you guys. So I'm going to bring in Ryan's hands here, the pre-recorded video. This is a time lapse of me inking a Hammerella page. And it was originally going to be page 1. You're going to open the book, and this was going to be how it started. But now we've got a brand new start to the book, and this is a few pages in. I think it's page 3 or 4, something like that. And this is where Hammerella is confronting Umbra. And Umbra is the caretaker of the Garden of Umbra, and that's where Hammerella is from. I wouldn't say that's where she's from. That's where she was abandoned and raised alone. Excuse me. So tools being used on this Strathmore Bristol board 300. I used to hate that stuff. In the last 5 years, the 300 has they've improved it immensely. I think once more professional comic book artists started dabbling and practicing with the pre-cut 11x17 that Strathmore finally started making in the pad forms, and the 3 and 500, they got a lot of feedback, and the 300 stepped way up. I do prefer the 500, but the 300 is usually on sale, and I can get it at a much better price. And with the type of inking I do for myself, which is usually bolder lines and heavier brush lines, that works great. So Ryan Cardinal, what nib are you using? This is a deleter nib, the Maru nib, and you can see that on the handle as well. It's a combo. That is a manga nib that, you know, a lot of us have been using for at least a decade or so, once we were able to get it at an affordable price here. Hey, we got Corey King, regular participant, showing up saying, what's up, Ryan, and the chat. And we got a good buddy and artist D. Hausner. Give D. Hausner a follow over on Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that. So yeah, combo of tools on this piece. Here I'm using just a Strathmore pit pen to rule out the straight type lines for the hammer. I know a lot of people, they hate using rulers. My good buddy Michael, who does the Skits comic. Some of you guys know him from the Skits comic channel. He and Black Star do. He hates rulers. So he's someone, if I ever hung out with him, I'd have a ruler on hand and whip it out, give him a fright. He's very well educated and very knowledgeable, and does everything with this freehand like explosive energy. But some stuff I like to rule out. That's just my style. When I was part of Crime Lab Studios, it was cool when we were inking Angel Medina on Spawn. We'd get the same pages, all 4 of us, Danny, Alan, Victor, and I. We get the same, you know, not the same pages, but we get the same batch of pages from Angel, the same penciler, and we all had different approaches. Danny, Alan, and I very much in the same style, because Alan and I were always trying to ape Danny and kind of hide the fact that, you know, multiple people were touching a page. Where Victor Olazaba, he had come into the Crime Lab studio with he kind of already established himself and his style, and he did these great, like, sketchy, jagged freehand lines over buildings and tech work over Angel Medina, and they, oh, it was so cool. And yeah, he was always trying to get me. He's like, loosen up, man, free yourself from the ruler on that, which of course he didn't do on, you know, things like certain Spider-Man books or Humberto Ramos and stuff. He's gonna rule out a lot of that stuff, but it worked on Angel Medina's stuff, because I think Angel would lay out a lot of his cityscapes with a ruler and then go over it freehand in pencil. So he'd have that underlying line that was in perspective and ruled out, but then he had this freehand line that he would do over it, and it would bring this this kinetic energy to it. Let's see. Ty says he likes that ruler since it's got the grid and it's transparent. Yeah, love that. Yeah, I only use, not only use, but I mostly use those see-through rulers. I have various ones made up and with various configurations for inking and penciling and stuff like that. Let's see. Scrolling through the chat here. Time Ranger says, one day I'll use real paper. I'm still using my 6.5 by 9 sketchbook from the grocery store. Hey, that's fine too. I do so much of my work. All the drawstream stuff is done on my Walmart Daily Rowney sketchbook paper. And I used to do convention sketches in that as well, stuff like that. So now on to another tool. I'm using my trusted Raphael 8404 size 2 name of Stinger, because baby, she is so sharp. Let me tell you. This is one of my favorite brushes in years. Best brush I ever had was back in 2011. I forget her name right now, but she worked really hard for me on a bunch of New 52 stuff and found her way into Detective Comics, and just did some stellar work. And then she made it into my Valiant work, but the indie stuff and the film work I was doing in between DC and Valiant, I put her to the test, and a couple times I didn't wash her out properly. So you got to do that, guys. TJ Good Thunder says, I couldn't draw a straight line even with a ruler. LOL, but I am a bit out of practice. Hey, you know what? That's one of the things I want to know is like what you guys want to learn how to practice. I have my own list of things. You know, you need to learn how to practice with the nib, how to practice with the brush, but then learning how to use the French curve, the ruler, ellipses are really tough. The right pen to use, the right, you know, making sure if your ellipse has the right lift and your pen is the right size, everything lines up, things like that, because those little things can be hurdles, of frustration in trying to learn, and you can end up putting that thing aside when, if we just go over some of the tools and you try some of the right things, you'll see that, like, oh, okay, sometimes it wasn't the right combination, and you got to find the right combo, and you got to learn how to practice with stuff. I see so much on YouTube. A lot of it is just here's the tools I use, and then sort of here's the product, and you gotta kind of get into the nitty gritty. The way I learned so much of the nitty gritty stuff was, you know, being in the studio, in the room with other people that, you know, other professionals, or even at conventions. When I was really young at San Diego, it was still a relatively small convention compared to now. You could just walk up and talk to people. You know, Adam Hughes and Carl Story and the Studio Gaijin people would be just, you know, Stelfreeze, that gang would just be hanging out. And, you know, 13, 14, 15-year-old Ryan could just walk up and ask them questions and get demos. And at a very young age, Carl Story gave me a great brush demonstration inking a Brian Stelfreeze Wonder Woman right there at San Diego. A couple people came up and got his autograph at the time, which he considered like, hey, I'm pretty busy at this convention. Got a couple of people coming by. But he was more than willing to answer all of this dumb kid's questions. I think even though I was a dumb kid, I had decent questions that I was asking, and he was actually able to show me on the spot how he was doing things. because I've told you guys before, I come from a family of artists and creative types, and my mom was a calligrapher and an artist, so I was very familiar with the dip pens and mapping tools and things like that. But she didn't use brush very much, and my dad was more the sign painter, construction, woodcrafter type, so he didn't do anything fine like that. My grandpa did pinstriping, which was the closest thing, but he also did illustration, but mostly with pen, pastels, watercolors, things like that. So the brush was kind of elusive to me, and it was something that it kind of always called to me, which is, now why I think I use it the most. It's the tool. It's the thing that it always wanted me to learn how to get good at it, and I think I'm pretty good at it now. But I still want to get better, and I still want to start experimenting more with different brushes. I spent so much time working on the skills to work on like big two superhero style inking, and now I'm expanding into so much more than that. And on the side, I always did more than that. I've never shared my paintings or my art or my abstract paintings on this channel. Maybe I should. Some of you guys might find it interesting. Especially we're going to be exploring color more, color theory, things like that. So I may be breaking that stuff out. But we're going to get back to the chat here, see what you guys are saying. Mr. J. Lee says, I still have the old Blue Line 11 by 17 comic book pages that I've had since the 90s. I want to say like 100 sheets that I have. Hey, don't wait too long, because some paper lasts and it's fine, and then some paper, it gets all toothy and weird with time. Yeah, I found some boards that I really liked 10, 15 years ago, these image boards that Strathmore used to make specifically for image. They were 500, and they were, I think, like 4-ply. They were thick illustration board. You pick them up and they would barely bend. And I kept a bunch over the years, and I would always pull them out. And then a couple years ago, I pulled one out, and boy, they weren't that great anymore. So yeah, check and see if those still work for you, because I'd hate for you to think you're going to be able to use them someday, and then you don't. All right, getting some praise here, some ego boosts from D. He says he's loving the Hammerella pages I've been posting. The colors are popping. Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm doing my best to not only make it look like a modern comic, but I really wanted to have a Silver and Bronze Age vibe. So I keep finding myself kind of pushing backgrounds too far or doing something that falls out of that realm. And when I pull myself back into that kind of genre, everything starts clicking again. Because Gods and Gears is very much a Bronze Age, Silver and Bronze Age kind of comic. And even though Hammerella were bringing in some things from the 80s from Europe and Japan, I still kind of wanted to have that vibe. I still wanted to feel like it's in that world, just a little more electric, a little more neon. And I'm also starting to really find my vibe as a penciler. I didn't think I'd be able to pencil this fast. We did get a little behind on schedule of production, just because holidays, people getting sick, dying, all that stuff. And then recently we had some stuff, but I'm moving through way faster than I thought I was going to be. And I think the draw streams have had so much to do with that, where we have a couple hours to go from no idea what we're going to be drawing to finished executed piece, maybe finishing up the colors a little bit after that, something like that. But doing those and getting your mind to focus on the task at hand, it's really helped out so much. And it's the same thing that happened to me with inking, but I feel like I'm 15 years behind on where I should be as a penciler. So I'm trying to catch up, and doing all this drawing lately, it's been helping so much. I mean, I'm able to pencil a couple pages in a day, even though it's not quite how I'm working. I'm working like I'm laying out 5 pages and then spending a couple days penciling those pages and a couple days inking those pages. So it's kind of turning out to be about a page and a half from start to colors a day, and that's without rushing. That's just going through a 10 to 12 hour day. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year and seeing how far I can or how quickly I can keep pushing stuff. Again, without rushing. I don't like to rush anything. I just sit and I work. But that the patterns of work are just moving quicker. I'm thinking quicker. I'm more on target with everything all at once. I'm always very jealous of guys like Mike Odom who can think all at once. His brain seems to think layout, composition, shading, layers. He thinks all these things at once, where my brain is very slow about that. It's like, okay, let's focus on composition. Okay, let's focus on that. And I have to go step by step. But those things are starting to go faster and faster and all start to work at once. And that's kind of where you want to get as an artist. All right, we got my buddy Mark here. He goes by Gingerton. What is up? He says, can't wait for Hammerella. Yeah, I'm so excited. Next few weeks, I should be wrapping up the last pages. Doing some action-packed stuff right now. Bigger than I thought I was going to do. Having more fun than I thought I was going to be. Having this kind of creative control over a project. I usually work with a team and stuff. I haven't done something solo like this in years, so it's cool. Let's see. Dale A says, the composition on this page is great. I like how the direction of the rocks are pointing at energy. Yes. Composition is key for me. A lot of people say, excuse me, my pages aren't that detailed and stuff, but to me, I spend all the time on composition. Everything is about this underlying form and the direction that everything does. So all the objects in the piece are either framing your subject or directing towards it. And the older I get, the more practice I get. Composition just becomes more and more key, and something that I've always admired in older artists is where their brush strokes, their paint strokes, or pencil lines may get simpler or even slightly shaky as their hands age and their muscles decrease in strength. There's always something certain to composition that you see that carries through. Inking needs some water. All right, we're going to keep moving through the chat. You guys are rocking and rolling. We got a bunch of people hanging out. This is awesome. Hey, Razmaz. Hey, Simon7. I hope I'm not missing anybody. Giving a quick stroll through. Yes, also back to this page's composition. It took me a long time to figure out how to angle the spider. This was not my initial idea. It took a long time. But then once I found it, I was really happy with it. And then sort of built the background off of that. So yeah, we'll do some studies on some videos on how to study composition. All right, my good buddy Cryptic Comics in the house. Hail, buddy. Good to see you. Longtime friend and supporter, local buddy. Let's see, what is everybody saying? Jay Lee here says, these are still, the pages are still in great shape in the bag, so no air hit them. Nice. He will be using them for his new project once he gets his horror trilogy ready. Book 1 already out. So he's going to have the horror trilogy ready to publish. Book 1 is already out. What's it called, man? I may know, you may have told me, but when I'm doing these things live, sometimes I get big brain farts and I forget. So feel free to drop the name, drop any info, promote it however you want in the chat. Rex Doom agrees with me. As I was saying, Mike Odom is amazing. His stuff could be super gross. Yes, Super Gross is Rex's book. He would do awesome on your Super Gross story. Yeah, Mike has a real, it's a Joe Kubert vibe, but it's cartoonier and more modern. I love Joe Kubert. That's not taking anything away from Joe, but just not dating Mike's stuff. His stuff doesn't look old school like that. It looks very modern. All right, we got the bringer of heated questions. No, he doesn't bring heated questions, but he's always got good questions, and usually I feel bad because I don't have an answer. Ferris Jabbar, always keeping me on my toes, always keeping me thinking. How you doing, buddy? Hope everything's going well for you. Hope the inks are treating you well. I'm curious, what are you inking with? You always ask me the questions. Let me ask you a question. I'm curious what you've been inking with, buddy. And again, hope you are doing well. Thanks for showing up and hanging out. And I'm not sure if this is for me. Hope you did doing well during the winter storm. Yeah, we got a couple cold snaps, but we're pretty mellow. It's been really nice here lately. I've been working at our kitchen table with the back door open and kind of working in the sunlight and everything. That's been fantastic. Not to brag to all my friends in Texas who have been having a horrible time there. Let's see what else we got. Oh, look, we're using another pen. Back to the video, and then I'll get back to the chat. So this is yet another tool that I like to use, and this is a Zebra Sensations brush marker. They have 3 different sizes. They have 3 different barrels to the pen. They have a blue, light gray, and a dark gray. And this one is the one I use the most. It's the blue one. I used to be able to get them for $1.50 each at the Japanese dollar store, Daiso. But now they're a couple bucks each online. But I have literally dozens of them that I stocked up on. I just keep them on hand because when I was doing conventions, they were my #1 convention pen. I never used them for anything in print until a few years ago. I was always a stickler for anything in print. It had to be nib and brush only. My one problem is the ink is dye-based and it doesn't mix well with my other inks, but I've kind of learned how to maneuver around that and not brush one over the other, use them in specific spots. But I really, really enjoy them. They're somewhere between a pencil and a nib to me. It's like this weird combo of flexibility and firmness. And what I actually like to do is kind of take them when they're brand new and scribble with them, and the felt tip works up this fine little weird point. And if you just grab that and pop it off, the tip of the point is perfect all around, and it works so well for weeks, if not months. I usually get a couple months of use out of them before they start going to hell on me. Yeah, winter storms don't really exist here in California, as Cryptic's saying. Like I said, we had some really cold days, a couple of cold weeks, but nothing like our friends in Texas and around the other parts of the country. Shogun Ronin Artist. Oh, chat is jumping on me. He says, just got a classic Gardner Fox Joe Kubert Brave and the Bold Hawkman trade paperback today. It's pretty great. Yeah, Gardner Fox, fantastic creator, and Joe Kubert as well. Anything by those guys, pick it up. Gardner Fox did all kinds of great JLA stuff. We'll dig into some of that sometime. DLA says, your penciled pages look so clean. Do you do a lot of composition adjustments and layout figuring on your thumbnails? Yeah, everything's done in thumbnails. I don't like to scribble much over on the original boards. Even if I end up lightboxing something, I'll work it up. Say I draw it digitally, print it up, which is I think what I did with this, and then I lightboxed it. I don't lightbox final lines. I almost redraw it when I'm lightboxing it so that it has that same energy, if not more energy than the original. But all of the placement of stuff is worked out. It's just the details that I'm hammering out, no pun intended, on the final boards. I'm also doing most of the book digitally now. I had some trouble with my scanner earlier on. The original idea was to do splash pages and double page splashes traditionally and the rest digitally. But I ended up doing a lot more digitally, and I'm moving so quickly. I think that's part of the speed. One of the reasons I thought I'd be moving so much slower on the project was I thought I'd be doing a lot more traditional. But I finally got my brushes, I'd say 75, 80% of the way there to almost mimicking my brush and nib perfectly. So once I do that, I'll produce more digitally, but I still think I want to go back to always doing covers, splash pages, and maybe key moment pages that people would want to own, important components. Ty Ranger says winter storms exist in Northern California and in the Sierras. Yes, that's true. But yeah, Cryptic and I live in Southern California, so we don't get any of that. We get snow on the mountains here, and that's it. Northern California is its own state, actually. Hyper Potato, welcome, buddy. Good to see you. Will you be doing a pinup or anything for Confederate Monster? No pressure. We did our ink along last week with that, and I do enjoy Dave's characters and his worlds. He's one of my favorite creators. He hasn't asked me to do one yet, but as far as like a fan art piece, I'm sure I'll end up doing something more. There's a couple of characters I want to learn a little bit more about, and I might want to do like a bride piece. I've kind of wanted to do a Bride of Frankenstein piece for a long time, but she's kind of she's like, what are you, a dead meme, if you will, as a subject matter. But maybe that'll be the way that I can finally do a bride piece. Good suggestion, Hyper Potato. Ferris Jabbar being very nice. Says beautiful consistency of line work and spacing. Thank you so much. That's due to muscle memory and practice. Just filling up pages and pages and sketchbook after sketchbook, not just with drawings, but with practicing patterns and repeated lines and line shapes and things like that. I know we go over that a little bit in every few videos, but that's something I really want to do some, like I was saying earlier, how to practice videos. And this is stuff that's for beginners and intermediate and advanced artists. You're never too advanced to learn how to practice. And a lot of advanced artists, they're still trying to get better at inking. They've never really learned how to, maneuver your arm and stuff like that. And so much of it's about the mechanics, the physicality of it. And I don't see a lot of that in lessons on YouTube. So I was like, okay, so that's something that I can focus on to make my stuff stand out a little bit and teach you guys the stuff I really think you need to learn. Everyone else can teach you how to draw and how to sketch or this or that, but how to make these decisions with inking tools and stuff like that. It can be elusive, and I want to make it something that it's not for you guys. Ferris asks, Ryan, when feathering, do you make sure the area you are pulling away from is wet ink? Thanks. Not always. Sometimes that can help, but it also depends what stage you're working at. So sometimes with a nib, if you've brushed in some wet ink area and you go back with a nib, you can pull some of that out. But it depends if you always want to be careful. If you've laid down the black line with the nib, you're always cutting the paper. So everything around there is iffy. You don't know how it's going to react. So if you're using a pen to draw out of that white area, you may end up dragging some pulpy paper out with you, which sometimes that's the effect you want. If you've got some control over that, if you're doing rocks or charred pieces of wood or things like that, and you want that effect, that inconsistent, uncontrollable organic effect, that can work. But if you're working with a brush, you'll be pretty safe for the most part, except for a drying stage. So you don't, it may still look wet, but it's actually drying and getting gummy. And if you drag your brush through that, then you're going to get a gumminess at the end of your brush. But if it's fresh, if you just laid that down and then you want to feather, pull those bleeds out, then hit it right away, and you'll get an added sort of like a juicy oomph to the thick part as it tapers to the thin. But generally, it's not something I do, because I either tend to fill in all the black areas last, the heavy areas, or kind of all at once, and then it starts drying all at once. But if you're not working that way, if you filled in a black area, go for it. I just wanted to go over all the possible things that could go wrong. Let's see, a Bride of Frankenstein comment here from Ty. It says, Bride of Frankenstein is a harsh mistress. Pun intended. Oh, muscle memory, he continues. I still whip my iPad screen whenever I use the eraser tool. LOL. Yeah, I don't think that goes away if you doesn't matter if you're old or young. I think if you're someone that switches from traditional to digital back and forth, you're gonna have that issue where every once in a while you're gonna double tap your sketchbook, your paper sketchbook, and nothing's gonna happen. I often expect that. Yeah, you can see here, this is a kind of bleeds that people tend to like. See how the camera is fuzzy now? That's why I didn't use this video originally, but I found it and I thought this would be a good use of it, to sort of do a chill hangout talk over it. So you can see I've locked my elbow and my wrist to the center of where those lines arch, or get thick, those diamond lines. And then you just whip them. So I recommend, if this is the kind of line you want to practice, watch this part of the video, slow it down even by a couple times, and practice those same lines. But yeah, we need to be teaching you guys how to practice. Oh, hey, my buddy Merc has showed up. It goes by Demon Ink Studios. A lot of people do how to draws. Whoop. Skipped on me. A lot of people do how to draws or how to inks, but so few do how to practice. Yeah, that's kind of the gap I want to fill, if you will. He continues with, I got a question, Ryan. Do smudge gloves help when penciling, as not to smear them? Yes and no. You will still smudge with anything you've got, unless you've got a flat piece of paper that is not moving over those pencils. You will get a little smudge with everything. But this blocks the oils from your hands. And that's why you got to replace them or wash them every once in a while, because your oils seep through. But your oily hands will get in there, and that'll smudge and smear and also make the paper less workable for your pencil and eraser, less friendly to that. So I recommend it highly. And Shogun Ronin Artist adds, quote, juicy, oomph, end quote, the Ryan Wynn story. Hey, my good friend from down under, Colin Swinburne has arrived. Man, my Colin was strong Australian, and then my Swinburne went straight to England there. Sorry about that. And he says, 12-hour days are a pig. Yes, he is earning that green, that Australian green, paying them bills. Good for you, buddy. Everyone's saying hey to Colin. And then Ferris asks, in your experience, do most pencilers who also ink prefer a less consistent ink line? I prefer more organic when they are laying down a curved line. Too much of a perfect line feels too processed. Yes, I agree in my pencils. Whenever I get pencils from, nowadays from a friend, usually asking me to ink them, since I don't so much ink other people's pencils professionally. I don't know what just happened under my table there, but I don't like any of the pencils to be too tight. I want there to be some sort of organicness. Like I said earlier, Angel Medina, on his tech work in his cities, he would use a ruler and then go over it freehand. David Finch does that a lot too. And that was sort of what I like, because then you still had choices in the lines. Everything was kind of had a sketchiness, but there was a foundation of strength underneath that. And too much of a perfect line, if you're talking about on figures, I do not like when, I like my hips and thighs and things like that on say Hammerella. Those have to be nice, clean lines, but there still has to be an organicness to them. I don't like to use a French curve on those. I feel like that would make her look too machined. Even though she's wearing armor, it still should feel round and not soft to squeeze, but I like the lines to be slightly soft. But if I was inking a spaceship, even nowadays, I would probably freehand a lot of the tech on the spaceship. But that's just my style. As always, let me know if I'm answering your questions or straying off too much. Simon7 adds, I still try to find the knobs of my Etch-a-Sketch on the tablet. Bop, bop, bop. That's pretty funny. You want to go back on your iPad, you turn it over and shake it, it jumps back. Hyper Potato being nice and saying, I love his Hammerella piece. Forgive me if you have covered this, but how is the book coming along? Oh, it looks like our video is done. We'll do some Q&A and hang out for a bit. Yeah, today it looked like we're past the halfway point. It depends on if I'm adding these more 8 pages, which we didn't reach the stretch goal yet, which if you guys haven't backed it, feel free to check out the link below. We're super close. We're only like less than $400 away from adding 8 pages onto this book. So if we do that, I'd need like another week or so. And it looks like we're running a couple weeks behind, but I don't even want to say that yet because this week I'm making so much progress. I want to see where I can get to in the next, like basically by the end of the month, like what we got, 5-6 days, end of the month. And then I'm gonna gauge where we're at. And I've got a bunch of pages I can show in a few days that won't have spoilers. I tweeted out 3 pages the other day, and I don't think anyone ended up seeing it, but I did tweet out 3 pages the other day that I wasn't thinking about. They were spoilers. And oh man, I'm so glad I caught it. I woke up and I was like, you know what? I need to do a post. I colored those 3 pages last night. I'm going to show those. And not that it would have ruined the story, but those of you that have backed it and are excited for it, I think it would have killed some of the fun. And I was like, no, can't do that quite yet. And never apologize for asking questions, Hyper Potato. I myself jump in and out of streams often, and sometimes you miss stuff. So never feel like I'm going to yell at you or not answer your question if I've answered it or spoke about it before. Hopefully this, hopefully that is for the answer I gave you, Ferris. He says that's a great tip. Thank you. If not, somebody else gave him a great tip. Demon Ink Studios says, so a combo of gloves and the extra piece of paper. Yeah, that'd be, yeah, glove, extra piece of paper. You are in business. You can even just put it down with a little bit of white artist tape, a little low tack, maybe even just a light piece so you can pick it up and move the paper if you have to. All right, we got some questions here. When you worked on things like the darkness and his textured costume, do you like empty spots to fill with ink lines? Not really. It kind of depends. Like, as an artist, it can be fun, but as an inker working on the deadline compared to page rate, time spent on it, stuff like that, you usually want the penciler to have done all their work. And not really leave too much room for you to fool around, other than which line to pick and line weights and things like that. But I would always kind of get irritated if pencilers would leave a spot and they're like, oh, I thought you'd want to have fun filling that in. And I was like, I don't want to take the 2 hours to think about that. I'm not getting paid extra to do your job. And that happened for years. And so many times I did it, even up into working on New 52 stuff. Big name pencilers were like, hey, can you fix this? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm totally going to bend over backwards for you. And then 2 months later, they're like, yeah, I'll go with a different inker now. So that kind of BS. So I would always get mad at pencilers for like, do your job, you lazy son of a lazy penciler. Let's see. Ferris is saying, looking at a lot of original art, it seems as though deadlines sometimes rule or dictate quality of line work. I actually prefer a more deadline look. Yeah, see, that was something I found a balance of after I worked on the darkness. The darkness pages they're great. I'm super proud of them. They're some of the best inking, but they look like they took 18 hours per page. There's not as much energy to them at the start. When I got to issues 5 and 6, I started loosening up. My penciler was getting behind. We were having to catch up, and I started getting a little looser with the brush. And that doesn't mean like my lines were shakier. It was just freeing myself up where contour lines didn't have to be so fancy. Like a brush line could have a dry edge to it and things like that. And I started to like there was a balance. It was like too much of a deadline, things are sloppy and unfocused. They're just black lines on white paper. But if you kind of like 6 hours was the sweet spot, like 5 to 6 hours on a page. When I was inking Trevor Hairsign, I would do the faces kind of tight, and then everything else I would be like, get it done, buildings, boom, 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 whip them out, get it done, and they would have this organic quality to it. But also, in the way I like to train people and teach you guys is, you work up to that. You don't start that way, because if you start rushing and slop and speedily, it's not going to work out that way. But you don't want to get too caught up in everything being perfect and slow and methodical. Because some of Scott Williams' best pages over Jim Lee, he was rushing with dried Sharpie and markers and doing all this stuff, and they're so energetic, and they have these awesome brush strokes and direction. And like I was saying earlier, the way the draw streams have taught me to focus, the same thing. The deadlines kind of taught some of these guys to focus, and you don't want the stuff to be overwrought. You don't want it to look like each page took 20 hours, on a monthly superhero action book. You want it to kind of have this energy. So I kind of agree with you, Ferris. Kino Subway, hail, buddy. Thanks for showing up, stopping by if you're still here. I actually have a question for you. I need to remember to DM you. I have a question for you. Shogun Ronin Artist states, I started making my comics digital and it took a few weeks when I went back to traditional to stop moving my hand to hit Control Z. Exactly. No, it never goes away. Never goes away. Yes, Ferris Jabbar adds on to his previous thought about the deadline, adding brings out the best work from the gut. That's a good way to put it, from the gut. TJ Good Thunder still hanging out. Good to have you, buddy. Welp got the bug again. Gonna have to start working on Aftermath again. That's his project. Love getting people the creative bug. Hopefully you use your notes to fix it up. Very cool. TJ is an old friend from Arizona. Met him when I used to be a regular at all the Phoenix Comic Cons. See, Ferris says, thank you as always for taking and answering questions with depth. Most creators are not as detailed in their response. I do ramble on. I do have a tendency to ramble on. Like I'm going to do right now. I used to do that at conventions. I'd have a kid come up. He's like, hey, how do you do this? And I'm like, well, here's how you do this. And he's like, so cool, thanks. And if you want to know more, and he'd be like, oh, not really. And I'd talk to him for another 20 minutes. And my wife would be like, he wants to go get Jim Lee's autograph. Let him go. I'm like, sorry, kid. Sorry. No, anytime I can be helpful, I love sharing any of the information I got. It's one of those things, when I was young, the information was so hard to come by. And I was always like, I want to make this stuff easier for people to come by, because it's not like you're showing your competition how to do anything. You can show people how to do stuff all day long. If they're not that great at it, they won't pick up on it. But it's so much funner to share information. There's a few things I'll keep secrets. There's a few art tricks that I will keep to myself. But I mean, for the most part, it's so much fun sharing things, and then people expand on that. People take that and they're like, oh, my version of that is this, or I do it this way. And I learned so much from young artists too, that I listen to how they do things too. Because like I've said before, I do feel like I'm about 15 years behind on my penciling and my drawing skills, because I spent so much time on finishing and inking and working on that as a career, where I went years without penciling stuff. Like, other than doodles here and there would be times where I'd go years without drawing or creating, and that started to wear and tear on me big time. Simon 7 has a comment here talking about natural lines versus manufactured. The Tutankhamun treasures things like the mask. If you see a good picture, you can see that it was handmade. It's not that perfect. So for me, is even more amazing. So for me, sorry, it continues, is even more amazing how perfect it seems. Yes, there is something to that. I won't spoil what it is, but Jake Kreger is working on a piece right now, a physical sculpture that he's working on. He was sharing with me, and it's funny. It looks perfectly symmetrical, but even he is purposefully trying to find the inconsistencies in the structure, in the person's face that it actually has, so that it has that perfectness without being overly symmetrical, overly perfect. We're only at 50 minutes. I was only going to go 35 minutes, but we'll keep going. I'm having fun. We're hanging out. Let's say like 10 more minutes, you guys. And then, you know what? That's right. We do have to look at the Hammerella figure prototype soon. Let's get through these questions, and then we'll take a look at that before we go. Elizabar showed up. Hey, Elizabar, good to see you. He says, if I've learned one thing from Rob Geronimo, it's that killing the pencilers and eating their hearts will not only make you less angry at them, but also give you their pencilers' powers. You know, Rob has his methods. Everyone's got their own techniques. What's funny is Rob doesn't teach that method in class. That's one of the things he keeps to himself, and he's let us know, but he doesn't teach that to his students. I think that's because he doesn't want his students to eat him. He doesn't want Mike O'Shea, Wirehead artist, to eat that heart. Demon Ink Studios says, I've noticed myself I tend to make the more manufactured, in quotes, looking lines, though I prefer the more organic and kind of rough look of natural lines. Well, that's a natural process too. You do very clean line work, and I thought that's what you were going for. If you're trying to rough it up a little, start going for that. Start being a little freer. Release some of the streamline on your penciling and inking tools. I know that it's what it's called on Procreate. It might be something different on Clip. I forget. But yeah, we can work on that. Simonon agrees with Ferris that sometimes the absence of deadlines makes pieces overworked. They become stale. Yes, very much so. That's one of the things we tried to do with Gods and Gears, and then it still kind of bit us in the butt, was, we crafted the entire story, but then we wouldn't finalize the next script until we were done with an issue. So we finished issue 1, and then we had our plot, our layout, our basic layout for issue 2, but then the stuff we learned or figured out about characters and the story in issue 1, we would try to incorporate that immediately into issue 2 to try to mimic the month-to-month feel of, Marvel back in the 80s, where they were banging their heads together to come up with an entertaining, exciting story that would sell. So they had to be awesome, and it had to be something flashy that would sell. And it had to have substance and weight and carry some sort of heart with it. But it had to have this, there was this spontaneousness that came through in all those stories. And that's what we wanted to have. We didn't want to figure out Gods and Gears note by note by note, brick by brick, and then present it, because it at that point, that's something I've learned in music and art as well, is it almost becomes a cover of your original idea, because you've already kind of crafted the entire story, that when you're then recreating it, it's, I don't know, it has a weird traced feel to a story. And we didn't want that. We wanted it to feel like we were making this month to month, even though we had months and months between, and we're working on it kind of slowly. We still kind of wanted it to have this organic, spontaneously created feel to it. All right, scrolling. Jim Cox says Kino Subway should cosplay Hammerella. I could see him pulling that off. He might not have the junk in the trunk, but I think he'd look good in yellow. All right, scrolling and sipping. I'm switching off between my my water and my Coca-Cola. All right, our good buddy Randy Scribner Jr. has shown up in the last few minutes of the stream. Hey, what's up, buddy? I'm later than usual, but so are you. Hope you're doing well. Everyone's saying hi to Randy. And Eliza Bar, he does what he does. Ty Ranger has this to say: I don't know, looking at some of the stuff I've seen lately from publishers, the deadlines don't seem to help. So many books look sloppy to me these days. These days, yes. I think we're all kind of talking 70s, 80s, 90s, where part of the push was to be as good as you could be and to be better than those the guys and girls that came before you, not so much opportunistic creators that are just jumping in at Marvel and DC on their way to Hollywood, which is what we've had for the last 10 years or so. TJ Good Thunder, always very nice to me, says, why would you want Jim Lee's autograph when you can get some raw knowledge from me? What's funny is I do believe TJ often left my table to go get Jim Lee's autograph. I do think that was an actual thing that happened a bunch of times. Let's see. Everyone's saying hi. Randy saying hi to Sim. Everyone saying hi to each other. I love that you guys are all getting to know each other better. Demon Ink Studio says, on the topic of deadlines, does anyone have any tips for setting personal deadlines on work? Like, what would be a good deadline for, say, a single page? Yeah, if anyone that wants to answer that, if they've got their own answers, go ahead. Yeah, it is important to set the personal deadlines. Sometimes I'm good at it. Sometimes I'm horrible at it. Sometimes, like, my wife and I'll sit and we'll plan out the whole week and like what pages I need to be doing at what hours and when I need to be getting video stuff ready. And those weeks, everything goes smooth. I stay on target. And when we don't plan it that well, things get behind. So I try to stay on deadline, and even within those deadlines, like when I sit down, okay, I've got 3 hours to spend working on the inks on this page. I'm not rushing myself, but if I'm just putting in the work, putting in the sit time and putting in the pen to paper or, pen to tablets time, stuff moves quick, and you can generally kind of you'll figure out your own kind of deadline. Like, oh, that takes me 3-4 hours to ink a page. So then that'll just be the time that you slot for that. You're young, you're working a job, your day job. Well, a lot of people are old and working their day job. I'm doing side stuff too. So but since I know you personally, you want to set a time, you're going to have your family time, your dinner time, all that stuff, and then your schooling time. So you want to be kind of realistic. Figure out what you can get done, whether it's writing or scripting, layouts, or edits, whatever it is you happen to be doing at the time. Figure out kind of how much you get done, and then make that your goal. So like, oh, I can write or edit 4 pages in 2 hours. Then this week when I set those 2 hours, my goal is going to be this, or this. But I'm not the guy to come through for organizational skills. This is why I was an inker for years. I was like, you guys write it, you guys lay it out. I'm just going to trace it with a really nice hand. I'm just going to do this and that. And I'll get it done on time and it'll look good. And then we'll let the colorist do that because that's all brain work. And now I'm doing everything. I'm writing, penciling, inking, coloring, and doing it all. So I'm figuring it out. So maybe in a year, come back and I'll have it all figured out. Ty Ranger says he wishes he could help Demon Ink Studios, but he keeps missing his self-imposed deadlines. Yeah, but Ty, you still, for doing the day job stuff you do and the family stuff you do, you still get a ton of stuff done, man. Let's see, I want to miss anything, but we do got to go in a couple minutes, and I want to show you guys the Hammerella action figure. All right, you guys are talking to each other. I don't think I missed anything. Kino Subway heard what Mr. Cox had to say. He's being given a hard time, and it's not even his channel. I know, Kino, it's not by me, buddy. Not by me. But I can't control the people. You can't control them. It's just how it goes. Ferris says he's always willing to help and support others. It's all about getting better as a group. Always looking to pick up great info from seasoned vets. Hey, like me. Hey, that's what I'm here for. That's what I've always wanted to be here for, and now I am a seasoned vet. I remember when I was young, I was like, I want to be a seasoned vet. I'm so unseasoned, and now you can see the seasoning coming in here. And we got the cosplay wars going off. Kino Subway fires back at Jim. He says, you got to pay for Sugar Chris to dress up, Cox. All right, you got to go over. You got to get monetized, and then he can, or maybe you are monetized, and then he can super chat you, and you got to dress up. And Ty Ranger says, well, there's a title for your teaching streams, Raw Knowledge. You know what? You might be right. Who was that from? Was that TJ Good Thunder? I've stolen so much from TJ. He and his brothers, they go by the Thunder Bros, and that's those are our gorilla-ish brothers in Gods and Gears. Get it raw, Simon7. Purple Smurf could be a good Hammerella since he's already purple. Yeah, he that would work out well for him. All right, so Scott McDaniel says, Shogun Ronin Artist says Scott McDaniel had an example of the type of schedule he uses on his website. Check that out. Jay Lee says, as a novel writer, he can say deadlines are hard to keep, but it's great to get ahead and stay there. Like now, book 2 is done and not come out until September, and already third done with the final one. Yeah, you know what? Hey, I have a couple novel writer friends. We should get them on and talk about that stuff too. I would be interested to learn more. You may have dropped the title, and I think you did, and I missed it, Jay. The title to your book. Feel free to drop it again. I hope I don't miss it. Ferris asks, are you open to portfolio reviews? Not right now. For pencilers and inkers, not quite yet. But I think I do need to start something like that. I'm trying to figure out how to do it because I don't like public ones for sure. Absolutely not. I haven't seen one that I like. And I haven't seen one that is anywhere near anything that I would want to do. But even privately, I'm trying to figure that out. All right, let's catch up and then look at this figure. Oh, Silvar Ogre says he's just dropping by. If you're still here, hang on. We're gonna look right now at the Hammerella figure that I am trying to work on. I think it's this one. Here we go. All right, this is obviously, or we can zoom in. So it's a rough, it's a low res. You can see kind of the pixelated edges, but this is the start of the Hammerella 3 3/4 Star Wars style action figure. I'm not quite sure. If we want to try to add this as a campaign thing. I'm not. We're just in the design stage. So I'm curious about everyone's input and stuff like that. If you want to see more of this stuff from us, I'm kind of curious, like price point. If people want in-action figures, because that would mean we could bring the price down incredibly, and it could still be a 3 3/4 figure, but it's it's in action. Those are the things I kind of want feedback from you guys on. But this is the debut of this. I haven't shown this to anyone except a couple people in DMs. Yeah, couldn't be happier with its progress. Obviously it doesn't have the cuts on the arms, but it does have the grooves where the legs would have articulation, and it doesn't have the slit neck that it would have. But we're slowly getting there. So we do have our Gods and Gears ones that you guys have seen that AC had helped design. I've got the car prototype. We have Captain Driver, and we have Jimmy Shotgun King there in his in this outfit. So it looks like this is a year we're going to be doing a lot more of that stuff. So I am going to be wanting feedback on you guys, or on you guys, from you guys. Kino Subway says that's awesome that you're getting to do a figure. Yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do. I have always kind of sculpted on the side. I've got some figures. I don't really share that much stuff, but I think I need to share my Divinity and my Grips figure that I'm working on. I also have a Ninjak, large scale, like 24 points of articulation. It was a Storm Shadow that I manipulated into a Ninjak that I definitely want to share with people. A lot of my Valiant fans are going to see that. Ferris asks, is that ZBrush or 3D Studio Max? And he says, beautiful work. Thank you so much. No, that is done in a simpler program called Forger 3D. And the reason I'm using that right now is that it's only $10 and it's only 28 some megabytes. so I'm able to operate it beautifully on my low memory iPad Pro, so I can, not bang them out, but I can work really quickly, and it renders them quickly, and it saves and transfers the files really smoothly. But I do need to get into ZBrush, and that's one of the things Jason Krager is going to be helping me do, is step into that, because he works pretty much exclusively in that, and the work he's been doing is incredible. But that being said, I want to keep stuff relatively simple. I want to do 3 3/4 Star Wars style, Gods and Gears, Hammerella figures, and then maybe some busts or some full figure statues. I know that doesn't sound simple, but as far as action figures, I want to keep them simple. I don't want to do Marvel Legends types or anything like that, or really articulated things. I really like the 3 3/4 style and size, and I think that's what I want to do. So, hey, Edwin stopped in. Edwin the Ace. Man, I think we only got like a week or so on the Ace. I do believe that's just its first month. It's funded. I backed it. I can't wait for that project. Great group of creators. Edwin's super awesome, always super supportive. Yeah, dig that guy. So anyways, that is it for yes, ZBrush is awesome. Simon says, yeah, that is it for the show tonight. We are over an hour. I didn't know this many of you were going to be hanging out and having fun and asking questions. I've been working so hard, and we had so much stressful family stuff going on that I was like, I just want to go chill on the stream. Maybe the guys will be cool if I just play video and we chit chat, and I can let them know the plans. Going forward, like I said, I think 2 ink-alongs a month, 1 live chill like this where we'll just go over stuff and hang out, and maybe I'll have a video of something that we can watch while we talk and chill, and then once a month have a guest on where we promote their project or something like that. And speaking of promoting projects, this Monday we will be back with the all-new comic ship. My co-host and first mate John Hervey will be joining me again. We will be having Joe Catapano, or Karatapano, and Star Circuit on. I know the book's doing well and it's funded, and it's not, the guy doesn't need that much help, but it's a project I've wanted to talk about and share with some of my fans and friends who may not be familiar with it. Joe's an awesome guy. We've been wanting to talk about art and comics for a long time, and I just haven't been able to make it work. So we're getting back on into the swing of things. I think we're going to have a wild guy on in a couple of weeks. We're going to try to get the rabbi on here, the rabbi from another planet. I think it'd be really fun to talk about that. But I've got a new format for the comic ship. We're going to try to keep it to 30-minute episodes that it almost works like a talk show kind of thing. We're going to be talking about indie music, indie comics, all kinds of cool stuff. Monday, 2 p.m. Pacific. That's 5 Eastern, or whatever time, wherever you guys are. So I think that is it. Let's see. I was just going to look. Jay Lee says, scroll up for the book info. I'm going to do that after I go, since I get to keep the live chat here. Thank you so much for all the questions, guys. Thank you for hanging out. And let's see. We got Ryan says, or Ferris says, you should reach out to David Finch in a process video that they have just started. You would be awesome guest. Yeah, been there, done that. Good idea, but I'm gonna keep doing my own thing. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, they do their own thing. I'm gonna do my own thing. I've inked him. I've been there. I've been down that road. So no need to go back. Yeah, thank you guys all for hanging out, and yeah, show up Monday and for Comic Ship, and we'll have another episode of Late Night Inks next week where we will do an ink along. Now I don't know who yet, so if you guys want to start giving me suggestions, let me know. And you're very welcome. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take it easy.